What's up to all my Leos out there, and welcome back to Pulse of the Cosmos. This is your weekly astrology horoscope for the week of June 15th through June 21st of 2020. So let's get into it. A lot of activity, you guys, this week for my Leos in your 12th house. So this is a really, really powerful house, and it's got a lot of depth and it's got a lot of weight in it because it's connected to the collective unconscious. This is the 12th house. This is Pisces. So I believe with a new moon solar eclipse happening at the 0-degree mark of Cancer over there in your 12th house on the solstice is going to bring for a lot of my Leos a major psychic awakening, a major kind of intuitive awakening, and this new kind of awareness to these deeper unconscious parts of yourself. And these are major initiation periods. Eclipses are fated moments. These are fated circumstances, and with this being your 12th house, it could involve an ending of some kind, a major ending in your life that's kind of impelling you to grow in a new and different, more aligned direction. And this could be connected very much so in ways to your spirituality, maybe undergoing kind of new kind of look into your spiritual life and looking to ways that you can connect more there and looking to kind of the deeper parts of that. It could also be a place of escapism. So as we're going through these initiations and as we're going through these fated circumstances that are kind of pushing us in forward in new and different and more connected environments and places and relationships, especially with the North Node just less than a degree away in Gemini, this is about kind of a major reset in your life. And whereas you've had a lot of activity, and I find this really interesting actually, because for all of the end of 2017, 2018, 2019, beginning of 2020, we had been filled with all of this Capricorn energy with the big Saturn-Pluto conjunction over there in early January. And this energy for my Leos, this was in your 6th house, where a lot of focus has been on your routines and your day-to-day life and your work habits. And it's been very much so a work mentality, kind of getting all of your ducks in a row there. And I think as we're in the polar house to that, for this new moon solar eclipse, now we're in the 12th house, that there comes like a deeper understanding and looking at some of the unconscious ways that you have been navigating through life in these past few years. And this conscious deeper understanding of knowing, okay, here is where is spiritually connected and here's what's not. I can see that this is something that is coming to a karmic end in my life. What are the lessons? What can I process throughout this and integrate into my life to transform myself into new, more positive directions? Mercury is going retrograde in your 12th house as well, where I've mentioned this in other videos, but I think this can be a very healing retrograde for Mercury. And going retrograde in your 12th house, it's going to be about processing a lot of those, some of those more unconscious parts of yourself and looking at maybe where some patterns or behaviors or systems have come up into your life where you've remained attached to some of these things, but it's becoming evidently clear now in your life that you are being pushed in a new direction, pushed in a new, more spiritual direction, pushed in a new, more divine direction. So there's a lot to be said about that going on for my Leos. There could be some fears coming up surrounding some of these unconscious things, some fears coming up around old attachments, or some fears coming up around the change or the endings that are revealing themselves that need to occur in your life. But what's important to remember throughout all of this is that you, with, again, going back to this being a solar eclipse, 0-degree mark of Cancer, fated circumstances, fated initiation, fated beginnings, fated changes, that everything is very divinely orchestrated right now. So be very conscious of where you're directing your energy, because it's this, at this point, it's not going to be so much about you being able to exercise your will over the circumstances and over the fate of the situation, but how are you going to allow yourself to experience that? From what space are you going to allow yourself to experience these new beginnings? And is it going to come from a place of fear, from a place of wanting to hold on to something old that's toxic, or an old pattern or an old belief system that's not useful to you anymore? Or is it going to be I'm going to come to this from a divine space of knowing and from connectedness and from trust and from faith that I am being led in a direction that is more congruent with what my soul contract entered into when it came with, because your soul does enter into a contract when it comes into this physical plane, right? So solar eclipses are kind of like a play out of those circumstances. When you entered into this physical reality, your soul was aware of a certain level of karma or a certain level of experiences that it needed to acquire while it's here on this plane. So these are very much so fated and connected into those things. So pay attention to what's coming to you and be a conscious observer of your reality and a conscious participant in the ways in which you engage with that reality. So in any case, let's pull a few cards for you guys, my Leos, and see what's going on there. But pay attention to those psychic gifts that are waking up inside of you, and pay attention to some of these very intuitive and psychic messages that you might be getting from you know, your guides or from your higher self or from the spirit realm, because my Leos will be very open and very vulnerable and very raw to receiving those kind of messages and that kind of divine guidance. It's going to be a very almost open communication between the unconscious waters and your conscious self. So let's see. All right, so the first card we pulled is the Page of Swords, which is interesting because this goes back to being, in some sense, an observer of what's going on. The Page of Swords, you can see he even kind of holds his sword kind of flimsily, and he's kind of removed from whatever is going on. He's observing. He's not really too caught up in the emotion or the attachment or, you know, getting too involved in any kind of situation. He's stepped away and he's kind of consciously observing to take in those lessons and to take in those insights and to experience things from a very hermetic way so that he can integrate those into his knowledge base. And this is also, again, those messages coming through for you guys. So the challenge is in the Nine of Swords. So yeah, there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of worry. And again, because the veil is so thin, and this is in a sense some kind of a nightmare card, really be, if you have like a dream journal, keep that next to you. The dream world is still very active right now, so you might be getting messages through your dreams from your guides or from source or from your higher self. But don't let yourself get too wrapped up in these mental anxieties of circumstances that you're making way bigger in your head than they need to be. Because you can see here that this person's waking up crying, but it was a nightmare. They're totally safe, totally protected. All the swords above them. It's okay. It's just it's made up to be a very big deal in their head, but they are, in a sense, able to redirect this energy and understand that they're safe and that they're loved and they're moving in better directions as long as it feels like it's coming from a place of alignment. And again, with this bedspread, you can see it's covered in roses, the universal symbol for love. So this is you being covered by divine love. This is you being covered by divine guidance. So what can we do here? All right, so we did pull the Seven of Cups next. So this is telling me that despite you maybe fearing that some doors are closing or fearing that something has to end or fearing about veering off into these new directions, despite whatever that looks like to you, there are maybe more options than you realize on the other side of that fear, and kind of stepping through that unknown and letting go of some of these attachments and allowing some of these karmic situations to come to an end. There are new and there are better spaces for you to move into. There's options here for you guys to kind of fill with from here. It's not it doesn't have to be so filled with anxiety and with stress and with worry and with panic. It can be a very exciting time that's transforming you into these new, more connected divine spaces that are giving you the true options that you want in life and giving you the true things that are going to emotionally satiate you and bring you to a more connected space. So in any case, for all of my Leos out there, I love you guys so much, and I will be back next week with your weekly astrology.